and welcome back to the lecture series on tribal studies in India, interdisciplinary perspectives and approaches. So, today we are going to discuss the role of performance in tribal rituals. Performance in tribal religion is at the heart of their tribal philosophy or tribal metaphysics, and so performance is central to how these communities, how the Adivasi communities connect and engage with the sacred. Rituals integrate various components together such as the body, natural resources, memory and cosmology in their everyday ceremonial life. So, spiritual relationships are exhibited in numerous ways, including the practice of taboos, maintaining economy while using natural resources, as well as enacting reverential rituals before availing these resources, and even in agricultural methods such as shifting cultivation, performances are interspersed as part of day-to-day activities at birth, at the level of their agro-based activities, in their weddings, and even in death rituals. Performance becomes crucial, it plays a momentous role. So, tribals have a performative existence essentially. They have a special respect for nature, like we have already discussed in our previous lecture. There is a deep interconnectedness between the tribals and the different elements of earth and the universe, be it animate or inanimate. Several studies have elaborated that the tribals' reverence for nature is embedded in their profound faith that the deities and supernatural powers reside within natural phenomena and in natural aspects or different aspects of nature, such as the forests, mountains and aquatic bodies such as rivers, ponds or streams. Through their practice of nature worship and demonstrating respect in the mystical nature of terrestrial phenomena, the tribals promote and encourage happiness and harmony, while simultaneously upholding the religious belief that these practices can also ward off the evil eye or the negative spirit. Spirituality is therefore deeply embedded in tribal life, and it is inseparable from the context of community development and engagement initiatives. Tribal religions are devoid of religious texts. They do not necessarily refer to any text as a sacred scripture as such. There is no written tradition strictly speaking, but religious traditions are passed down the generations through the word of mouth, and this is something we have also discussed in our previous lecture, how orality becomes very important, very crucial in transmission of knowledge down the generations. Whether they are complex religious treatises, mythical stories of origin or creation stories, as well as tales of gods and demigods, discourses on magic spells, symbols or elaboration of ritual enactments, all these different forms of knowledge are mainly existing orally at the heart of a tribal society. Celebrations and rituals are often accompanied by performances which include dance, music and the playing of various musical instruments. Personal as well as communal bonding therefore are shaped and nurtured through ritual ceremonies which help people develop a common identity and support each other even as they enact everyday tasks and activities such as eating, dancing and rejoicing together. Such mundane acts are also nurturing and shaping their sense of belonging to a community. So, performance is a way of asserting the tribal's communal identity, their shared identity. So, for instance, in certain tribal cultures, rituals are organized in such a way that celebrations continue for a day or even more. The night is spent in communal rhythmic movements such as drumming, dancing and singing, commonly taking place in the village akhada, which can often lead the participants to a crowd catharsis. So, after they come back from the agricultural activities, a full day's activity in the agricultural field, they gather at the akhada and they play their drums, their instruments and they dance together. It becomes a crowd therapy, it is therapeutic, it is a crowd cathartic process. So, ritual dances are performed to invoke the local deities that are associated with clan identity and religious duty. Such ritual ceremonies are believed to bring people and all living and non-living entities of the universe together. During festivals, possession occurs where the deity is believed to inhabit the dancer. So, the deity takes possession of the dancing individual, affirming the success of invocation. When a deity is invoked, it actually tells its presence by possessing one of the dancers, and that indicates a successful performance of ritual or successful invocation. Ritual songs carry mythological content celebrating spiritual memory that are passed down generations. For instance, in Baha festival, we have the Santals performing elaborate dancing processions which accompany the Naike or the priest to the Jaher Than. So, elaborate dancing processions accompany the Naike or priest to the Jaher Than. During this carnival at the Baha festival, people act as being possessed by major deities such as Jaherera, Marangburu and Morekuturuiku, and dressing in a specific way, these performers enact dramatized activities which actually present the Santals' notions about these deities. So, the dancers, very deft, very expert dancers, they enact the deities, and there is this popular belief that they have been possessed by deities such as Jaherera, Marangburu and Morekuturuiku. In the same way, during the funeral rites observed during the Umuladar ceremony, two persons are supposed to become possessed by the deceased individual and by Marangburu respectively, and these two possessed people are then formally welcomed with libations of water and rice beer. The rest of the audience offered them water and rice beer. It is a way of respecting the deceased soul as well as the spirit of Marangburu. This performance of the two spirits reinforces the original myth that Marangburu is the benevolent grandfather and ancestor of all humans. So, objects such as bells and iron chains signal the arrival of spirits during the ritual movements and dances. Rituals involve the sacred objects to embody divine presence and define the ceremonial space. So, when bells ring or when these iron chains start clinging, there is the signal that the spirit has come on the body, it has taken possession of the body of the performer. The creation story among the tribals has an animalistic and biocentric significance, and it is an informal way of keeping records of a village's origin, a village's provenance. For example, during occasions such as Chacho Chatiyar among the Santals, an old man from the village recites the story of creation, the origin or creation myth, how the wanderings of the Santal ancestors would take place and the history of their settlement in a current village, in the current village. So, this Chacho Chatiyar becomes an occasion where the history of the settlement of this village, the foundation of this village is recorded and it is passed down from generation to generation. The oldest person or one of the oldest person in the village recites the story of creation of this village, how the forefathers or the founding fathers would wander from place to place, and finally they chose a particular site for founding the current village. Similarly, during the Bhandan ceremony, the Manjhi and Jog Manjhi of the village recite the traditional Santhal myth of origin, which is known as Karambinti. Social solidarity is reflected through the mundane acts of chanting and singing popular communal songs, which invoke weather conditions such as rain and sun. So, tribal religious festivals involve animal sacrifice, ritual music and tree worship in order to honor a particular deity. For instance, the Gonds in central India sacrifice animals as an offering, especially when they make sacred vows to the deity. Sacrifices signify a sense of fellow feeling of the Santhal community with the world of spirits in order to secure protection from suffering and distress. Among the Gonds, even at the onset of certain ceremonies such as eating of new corn in the month of Bhadu, they offer a pig sacrifice to the sacred deity of Baradev. Similarly, during the Narayan Dev celebration, the community gathers at riversides with offerings and chants reenacting a divine narrative. So, these festivals foster communal solidarity and affirm collective identity through embodied ritual practices. Ritual bundles referring to symbolic deity items comprise sacred trees and other objects of nature. For instance, the Saj trees among the Gonds, the Sarjum tree among the Santhals, the Mahua tree among the Santhals, all these trees are especially considered as holy, and rituals and rites are performed right under these trees, as these trees are associated with several clan deities. Offerings such as red ochre, rice and liquor are placed before shrines or groves to call upon divine favor. After these offerings, the members of the community eat and drink the liquor that was offered to the deities as as something as a symbol of benevolence of the deity. So, once the deity has touched and tasted the liquor, the remaining can be distributed among the villagers. Tribals considered the act of drinking with the rest of the village community as a way of celebrating his legitimate membership and complete engagement with the village affairs. So, sitting together and drinking liquor with the rest of the community is a way of asserting one's one's belonging to the village, one's collective identity as part of a tribal community. So, myths and stories form a very essential component of tribal religion. Unlike other major religions, tribal religious myths are preserved orally. Myths are often physically enacted during rituals to animate the sacred stories, to give them further let us say add imagination to these stories, to kind of add a life and spirit to these ancient sacred stories. They are further enacted, they are performed. For instance, the Gond tribe performs rituals associated with their god Baradev, which include not just material offerings, but also offerings in the form of cultural performances at sacred rites, reflecting the importance of divinity in their clan mythology. Ritual enactments of myths transform collective memory into lived tradition through bodily action and narrative songs. The shamans play key figures in tribal societies who enact rituals involving the body, incantations and altered states in order to resolve day-to-day crisis. So, the shamanic cult involves a lot of bodily performance, incantations and altered states of being in order to solve mundane issues. It could be someone's prolonged illness, it could be a woman's barrenness or childlessness, or a woman that frequently loses child, or it could be some such chronic disease which the shaman tries to cure through performative enactments. The shaman performs chants, sacrifices and dances to heal or mediate spiritual forces. They serve to address both physical as well as psycho-spiritual problems using embodied rituals. Traditional healers serve as ritual agents and cultural repositories through their ceremonial roles. They chant, sacrifice and use symbolic acts in order to guide ceremonies, and their legitimacy stems from training and ritual inheritance. So, the shamanic gharana, if we may see, or shamanic family is usually a kind of an inherited status. In many events, the status of a shaman is inherited from one's forefathers, from one's previous generations, and the training of shamanic knowledge goes into shaping their legitimate status in the village society, in the tribal rural society. So, every tribal religion has religious specialists, priests or ritual technicians who preside over religious matters concerning the community. In most cases, these religious specialists also provide their services as mediums, as necromancers and clairvoyants, which are the basis of shamanistic beliefs and practices. Among Indian tribes, the role of the religious head is known by various names such as Pahan among the Munda and Orao, Badava among the Angami Naga, Naike among the Santals and so on. However, combining both religious and political authority is not a very common feature among tribes in India. For instance, in the case of the Santals, we see that the political and social affairs are dealt with by the Manjhi. So, the Manjhi Baba is in charge of the political and social, the secular affairs, whereas the religious aspects are supervised by the Naike. So, Majhi and Jogmaji basically takes care of the socio-political affairs, whereas Naike is responsible for the spiritual and religious affairs. Now, women's roles are critical in many rituals, particularly in fertility rites and possession ceremonies. For instance, Kesari Kappa is one of the Karam dances among the Mundas and Oraons in Chota Nagpur. In Kesari Kappa dances, women experience spirit possession that is interpreted as divine contact. The earth cult is very popular among the tribal communities in central India. In this, the communities celebrate the earth's marriage with the sun during the time of spring, and so new crops, new harvests are also celebrated as fruits of this marriage, as the result, the offspring of this marriage between earth and sun. The earth cult associates femininity with fertility, linking women symbolically to rituals that involve the nature. Women participate in dances and harvest rituals during this time. Major life events in tribal life such as birth, marriage and death are intricately related to spiritual endeavors. Marriage rituals are collective, performative events that involve songs, dances and offerings to deities. These acts strengthen social bonds and engage the cosmic order, often invoking divine ancestors and symbolic deities. For instance, among the Gonds, there is this figure of Dulha Dev, the bridegroom god, who is a central figure in marriage ceremonies and is honored through ritual songs and dances. In fact, the stories around Dulha Dev act as a motif in Gond marriages. So, these stories are recited and told when a marriage ceremony is taking place, which have led to the birth of several marriage rituals that people abide by and consider as important during marriage ceremonies. So, even life events such as death are considered as a spiritual occurrence. Funeral rites in tribal societies involve embodied rituals to facilitate the journey of the departed soul. The spirits of the dead are believed to become deities, they become the ancestral spirits, right, the demigods, and worship includes ancestral offerings and ritual dance as a means of offering, showing one's reverence, one's veneration. So, among the Gonds, for instance, where there is death in the family, whenever there is death in the family, the clan people worship first the gods at home and then the deities in the forests. The relationship with the spirits in the tribal worldview is thus both vertical and horizontal. This is something very important to understand as far as tribal religion is concerned. In case of major world religions, the spirits of souls depart for the other world. There is an otherworldly existence after death, which is a vertical relationship. So, the major religions treat the ephemeral existence as essentially lower to the afterlife or the otherworldly existence, which is celestial, which is divine, which is ethereal. However, in the tribal worldview, there is the concept of life after death, and the spirits of the dead persons do not really leave this or depart this worldly conditions. They are believed to dwell and coexist with the living, thus giving a form of belief in guardian spirits and also ancestral worship. The spirit of the departed soul, the spirit of the deceased elderly person is brought back home, and it is installed in the bhitar of the house, and then it is worshipped as a guardian spirit and an ancestral spirit. So, at the beginning of any festivity, any special occasion, they are offered some kind of some kind of rice offering, some kind of beer as a way of propitiation, as a way of showing respect and reverence. So, the spirits of the dead are believed to become demigods, deities, and worship of ancestors include offerings and ritual dance as a means of showing veneration. So, for instance, while drinking hadia or rice beer, the Santhal has this practice of sprinkling a few drops as an offering to his ancestors and to Marang Buru, who is the ancestor of all humans, the grandfather of all humans. So, before they drink the rice beer, they sprinkle a few drops as offering to the ancestors and Marang Buru. In the words of Archer, I quote, "Whether it is a time of drinking rice beer, eating a meal, celebrating a festival, a birth or a wedding, or placating the bongas, the recent dead must be given their small offering." Unquote. The process of ancestor worship enables uniting the community of the present living individuals with that of the people who lived in the past. So, it becomes a point of past meeting the present. This makes it difficult to make a clear demarcation and distinction between the palpable existence, the tangible existence, and the spiritual existence, or that of the world of the living and the dead. Ancestor spirits are often called Budha Budhi, and they are believed to live in the bhitar or the innermost quarter of the house, and the first offerings at the onset of any festival or ceremony are made in their name, in the name of Budha Budhi. So, according to David Abram, I quote Abram here, "The body, whether human or otherwise, is not yet a mechanical object in such cultures, and at death the body's decomposition into soil, worms and dust can only signify the gradual reintegration of one's ancestors and elders into the living landscape from which all too are born." Unquote. The liberation of the souls of the ancestors is believed to happen through the observance of Bhandan and Nahan ceremonies. On the day of Makar Sankranti, the bones of the dead ancestors are drowned in a river. This particular gesture is meant to free the souls of the dead from the village territory after it has already been freed from the ephemeral existence or the ephemeral body. So, the tribal understands body, human body as responsive to and reciprocating to and in continuity with the nature, and it is considered as a strand, a part in the larger web, in the larger chain of being. So, as a way of concluding, we note that the longevity of the social and cultural life of tribals can be attributed to factors such as an enhanced degree of solidarity, greater respect for their own traditions and customs, and an emphasis on meanings related to social actions, a devalued significance of money, and an enhanced sense of camaraderie which is prevalent amongst the community members. Performance and performative actions in tribal religions thus reinforce a sense of belonging, ecological care, and cultural knowledge of the tribal society. So, with this we come to the end of our lecture here today. Let us meet with a new topic and another round of discussions in our next lecture. Thank you.